I got a 3 minute PB in my last Hyrox race, and I'm going to be giving you guys a full debrief of everything that went down and how we shaved 3 minutes off of our last mixed doubles time from April till now. If you guys are new here, welcome. My name is Georgia and I'm a women's online health and fitness coach. I specialise in helping powerhouse women step into their ultimate confidence across all areas of their lives, all whilst dropping at least 10 kilos of body fat and building the toned body of their dreams. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back for another video. If any of you watching this also follow me on my social media, you will know that I have literally just got back from Madrid, where I did my last mixed doubles Hyrox with my boyfriend. We did our first mixed doubles together back in April in Barcelona, and literally this past week we were in Madrid to compete for the second time. Now, with this being our second Hyrox and with me being the way that I am, I very much wanted to go into this with a better time. I've spent from April until now getting so much stronger, working on improving the pace in my runs, and just generally putting in a lot of groundwork with my training and also my nutrition to get me in an even stronger position than I was for my first race back in April. There were also lots of things that I learned from my first race that I was ready to then take into this next race. However, this one was definitely a little bit different because both Tom and I were injured. So me less so than him. I basically had an old ankle injury flare up over the last couple of weeks, which I had treatment for, but it still was not 100%. It wasn't something that was super bad. I could still run on it, and generally the more I would move, the easier it would feel. So I know that it's not anything major, and me obviously running 8+ kilometers and doing all the stations on it was not going to cause any harm. But Tom has sprained his shoulder and literally found this out a couple of days before we were due to fly to Madrid. So it was a bit of a we'll just have to see what happens. Obviously on the surface, like I say, I went into it thinking, okay, last time we did it in 1 hour 22, I want to be under 1 hour 20 minutes this time. But I very much knew that it would just depend on how things went on the day. I knew that I had put in the work and I'd done everything on my end to be in a stronger position. But obviously with him being quite badly injured, that definitely put a massive spanner in the works. Something that definitely helped this time round with our Hyrox was when we flew versus when we competed. When we went to Barcelona, we flew out and then we had a couple of days before we actually raced, and then we flew home the following morning. Whereas this time we flew out the following day, we competed, and then we had a couple of days to chill afterwards. And I very much think that that setup worked so much better. I've actually just booked my next Hyrox, which is a women's doubles in Malaga next year with my best friend. So I definitely think I'll do a similar flying plan with regards to travel, because my body does not like flying very much. It's something that just really affects like how I feel. Like it bloats me so much and I just feel rubbish after traveling, especially getting on a plane. So if I can still have a bit of time before I compete, but not too much time that it's making it different from difficult from a nutritional perspective. Which brings me on to pre-race fuel. Obviously this was much easier this time round because I didn't have to worry about food and me not being at home with my normal food for as long before our race. We also had breakfast in our hotel, which made life so much easier. So I basically just ate exactly the same as what I would have eaten at home. Although our race was not until 3:30, which meant that I had a longer eating window beforehand to fuel up, which in itself was a good thing. However, with that being said, we didn't have breakfast until quite late on the Thursday that we competed. So it meant that I actually didn't have time with traveling to the venue to get a second meal in with enough time to digest said meal. So I probably actually didn't eat as much as I should have eaten pre-race. Hydration, I definitely think I handled way better this time. I packed my electrolytes so they came with us to Madrid, which meant that we were both really well hydrated before the race, so we didn't need to rely so much on the water stations and taking up time with that during the race. When it came to the actual race, like I said, it was definitely we'll just see what happens. Obviously the good thing about Tom having a shoulder injury is that he can still run absolutely fine, so that was not an issue at all. I would say that on the whole our runs were pretty consistent, which I'm really happy with, and I know that if I can continue to shave time off of those, that is what will help me improve my Hyrox time further down the line. But the stations is probably what let us down, and the way that we inevitably had to split them. So for those who don't know, when you do a doubles in Hyrox, you collectively have to do the runs together, but the stations you can split as per what works for you basically. So If you're tactical about it, you split it basically working to yours and your partner's strengths. However, there are a lot of things that obviously Tom shouldn't be doing with his shoulder. Most overhead stuff was going to be an issue for him, so he didn't do any of the ski erg, he didn't do any of the burpees, and I took more of the wall balls on than he did. Also, things like sled pull were a little bit of an issue just because of the compromised position that his shoulder is in at the moment. So it did mean that there were a lot of stations that were probably slower than they needed to be. So first of all, starting with the ski erg, which is station 1, which is one that I did all 1,000 meters of. We then went into the sled push, which Tom did. That was absolutely fine. It didn't cause his shoulder any issues. So that was probably as per what we would usually do, just because he is going to move the sled a whole lot faster than I am, because the sled is heavy in mixed doubles. That's one thing that I'm looking forward to about doing a women's doubles, is slightly lighter weights. Then came sled pull, and I went first for this one. I basically did, we did a length each and alternated, so we did half and half with this. Again, ordinarily, without injuries, Tom probably would have done a little bit more of this, just because, again, it's going to make us move a whole lot quicker. Then came the burpees, which was up to me because that was something that he just 100% could not do with his shoulder, which again, did it slow us down? Probably, just because I didn't have any time to kind of rest and recoup. And then it then meant that our next run needed to be pulled back a little bit because I was quite frankly dying at that point after 80 meters of burpees. We then came to the row, which we split 50-50, which was absolutely fine. Farmer's carry, we did probably about 2/3 Tom and 1/3 me, just because his shoulder was in a little bit of discomfort, so I took over for a little bit. Again, last time we did a Hyrox, he did all of the farmer's carry just because he moves a lot quicker on things like that, and it's not super fatiguing for him to then go into the next run. We then went into the lunges, which we split pretty much 50-50, which is probably how we would have done it anyway, so that wasn't an issue. And these had been causing a bit of a problem sometimes in my training, but by this point my ankle felt absolutely fine, so I was happy to take on as many of those as I could. And we then came to the wall balls, which is where the full lack of coordination version of me came out. I am someone who, when I'm during my period, I am obscenely uncoordinated. My balance is horrendous. I drop things all the time, and my hand-eye coordination, which isn't the best normally, just gets 10 times worse. Obviously, by this point in the race, you're pretty fatigued, mentally and physically, and I just could not coordinate myself with my wall balls at all. I always have to laugh at myself in training sessions throughout this whole prep for my Hyrox. If ever I had a session when I was in my luteal phase and I was doing wall balls, they'd always be horrendous. I'd drop the ball, it would hit me in the face, and I just had to kind of step back and laugh at that. But unfortunately, with where I'm currently at in my cycle and where I was at in my cycle for Hyrox, we were in the full lack of coordination part of my cycle. So when I tell you, I went to start the wall balls and it just was not happening. It was not happening for me at all. So I did a very short set, and then basically tapped Tom in and was like, you're gonna have to help me with this because otherwise these are gonna take me ages. Now obviously with a wall ball you're throwing overhead, which is not ideal for Tom's shoulder. However, obviously the ball is 6 kilos, so it's not super heavy if you compare it to things like the sled push and sled pull, which are very heavy, and even the farmer's carry, where you've got 2 24 kilo kettlebells, one in either hand. Obviously the wall balls, yes, you've got the momentum of it falling down, which meant that he just had to adjust the kind of flow of his movement slightly, so he was taking less impact, but he was able to do a few of those, thank goodness, because yeah, I definitely was not helping us much in the wall balls, but eventually we got through those with lots of me missing the target and me dropping the ball and just being very uncoordinated. We eventually got to 100 wall balls and then across the line at 1 hour 19, just under where I wanted to be. Do I think we could have been faster? Absolutely. Had we both not been injured and me having not been clumsy as hell on the wall balls, and having to do all the burpees, I know that those two things that were my doing massively slowed us down. So the fact that we still got a 3-minute PB, I'm actually really happy with, but I just know that we can go back and do it faster. I think the main learnings from this race would be timing of travel, hydration, and timing of meals beforehand, because they made a massive difference this time round. Plus, when it comes to the actual race, I really I suppose, was able to acknowledge how important the splitting of the stations is, just with regards to how you find the race. Being able to have those moments to recover makes a massive difference, especially when you are obviously doing a doubles race. And also it's going to add up to make your overall race so much more efficient if you're splitting the stations in a way that plays to yours and your partner's strengths and weaknesses. But like I say, this Hyrox was definitely a little bit of a different one, and I think a big thing that I'm really proud of both of us for is still being able to get through the race and come out the other side obviously in one piece. And disclaimer, obviously, yes, I know that I said we both did a Hyrox injured, but if we weren't safe to do so, we wouldn't have raced. Like I say, Hyrox is predominantly a running race, and Tom didn't do any of the stations that put his shoulder in a compromised position that would have made his injury any worse. And I was very much there to support when he needed me to, so he wasn't putting too much pressure on that. And likewise as well, the same with me. This is something that we both are having treatment for, so it's getting sorted out. And obviously this is something that my coach and I took into account with my programming in the lead up to the race to make sure that we weren't pushing anything too far and that I was still going into the race in a safe but also strong position as well. I suppose this is just me saying that you are capable of a whole lot more than you think. So that is the official second mixed doubles debrief. I cannot believe I've done my second Hyrox. It's such a cool feeling to think that when I went into 2025, I hadn't run a half marathon and I had never done a Hyrox, and now I've run a half marathon and done 2 Hyrox. So yeah, definitely a good feeling coming towards the end of this year, but I still have one more thing to tick off on my fitness goals for the year, which is my second photo shoot of the year, which I'm traveling up to Manchester for. Literally this coming week, when this video goes live, I'll be flying tomorrow. It has definitely been a big and busy year when it comes to both performance and aesthetic goals, but I can hands down say that I'm going into this next photo shoot as the fittest, strongest, and also most confident version of myself that I think I have ever been, which is so wild to say. Because for me, December is all about maintaining momentum, ready to go into January and absolutely crush it. And if you want to be able to do exactly the same, Glow with G, my 8-week group coaching program, is currently open for new applicants starting on Monday, the 5th of January. And if you sign up before this Sunday, the 7th of December, you're going to get access to a free 4-week prep and prime training program, which is going to help you build those foundations through December so that come January, when we kickstart this 8-week program, you're going to be ready and raring to go. The early bird discount is currently live, so included in that price, you're going to get the 8 weeks of group coaching, plus, like I said, if you sign up before Sunday at midnight, you're going to get access to the 4-week prep and prime program for literally no extra cost. So if you want to jump into the program, it is currently £160 and the full price will be going up to £220. So make sure you jump in now, get access to the early bird discount and the extra 4-week program through December so that we can go into 2026 ready to absolutely nail it. All you need to do is just comment the words Glow with G down below this video and I'll send you the link so that you can jump in. If you guys made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.